Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Paramahansa Parivrajaracharya Sattva Smadhati Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Bhagavad Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath.
Will somebody be start today or?
Yes, Maharaj. We'll put it on the screen.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. I would say, cannot say good morning, good evening, because we know the devotees from all over, right?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chevam Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nasha Presha Bhadrishu Nityam Bhagata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 7, this is text 7 and also 8. Etasmin mimado vidvan kiryate jnana sankate tannaha paranudhavibho kasmala manasam mahat. O great and learned one, my mind is greatly illusioned by the stress of this nescience. and I therefore request you to clear it up. Purport by His Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki such mental bewilderment as represented here by Vidura takes place for some living entities, but not for everyone. For if everyone were bewildered, there would be no possibility of a solution for higher personalities. Sri Sukha Uvacha Saitam Chodita Kshatra Tattva Jigyasuna Munihi Pratyahara Bhagavak Chittaha Smayaniva Gata Smayaha. Translation. Sri Goswami said, O King, Maitreya, being thus agitated by the inquisitive Vidura, at first seems astonished, but then he replied to him without hesitation, since he was fully God conscious. Purport by His Divine Graces Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Since the great sage Maitreya was filled with God consciousness, he had no reason to be astonished at such contradictory questions by Vidura. Therefore, although as a devotee he externally expressed surprise, as if he did not know how to reply to those questions, he immediately became perfectly subtle and properly replied to Vidura. Yasmin vigyate sarvam evam vigyatam bhavati. From Mundak Upanishad 1.3. Anyone who is a devotee of the Lord knows about the Lord to some extent, and devotional service to the Lord makes him able to know everything by the grace of the Lord. Although a devotee may apparently express himself to be ignorant, he is full of knowledge in every intricate matter. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Salakaya Chakshurunmiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Sri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namasite Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Sutedi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayavacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hi Krishna, I would like to express my heartfelt joy for being with you and also giving me this opportunity to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is the third canto we're talking here. It's a further inquiry by Vidura to Maitreya Rishi. As you know, just now reading Prabhupada is saying, although a devotee considers himself to be in ignorance, but a devotee is not in ignorance, he knows many things, but he's asking this question for the benefit of the population, for the benefit of the people. So here, Maitreya Rishi is asking that this question is, how is it that his mind is bewildered from the previous verses? We can see how his question is how is it that the living entity is the Lord is in the heart, right? the Lord is in the heart of the living entity. And how is it that the living entity is bewildered? Lord is sitting as Paramatma. So this is the question he's asking. And a few more questions he's also asking, that the Lord coming to this material world, is he coming to this world, yeah. Or how the Lord also taking the different incarnation, you know. So Maharaj Parikshit also asking this question, that how is it that the Lord comes in the form of a boar or the fish incarnation, because the body of a fish is condemned, boar is condemned. So obviously that the Lord can take this kind of form. He comes when he incarnates different types of form, which is condemned in this world. There's more or less two questions here, like that. So he's bewildered, as if it is contradictory, right? So, yeah. So we can see that Mathura Rishi was full with God consciousness. He had no reason to be astonished by the contradictory question by Vidura, right? So here we can see that Vidura is clearing this misconception. What is a misconception? When the Lord descends on the earth in his incarnation, or appears himself with all the potencies, and he appears also to, he too is subjected to the influence of Maya, just like the ordinary living entities, right? Because this material world, Prabhupada has been explaining the purport, that this material world is a creation of his external energy. So this material world is temporary. Because it is temporary, material world is it created and goes for some time, maintained, remain to certain interval, and maintained for some time, and again this world is dissolved by the Lord's energy, right? So, but the Lord is never subjugated by anything like the material influence. This is why the Lord is called Nirguna, right? So how can these activities actually, which is conceived actually under the influence of Maya, like in the case of the living entity. So the Lord is also, Lord is Nirguna, but also Saguna. The Lord is Saguna with qualities. He's also without qualities, but he's also with qualities by his own internal potency. But at the same time, Prabhupada is saying he's also Nirguna, because he is not in touch with material energy. Like I've said, although he take the form of a fish, fish is condemned, boar is condemned, body of a boar, fish is condemned. But this example is given just like the air. The air is carrying the smell, all kinds of smell of this world. But the air doesn't become contaminated, right? Just like the sun also, the sun is shining, and the sun is also shining on stool, right? But that doesn't mean that the sun become contaminated by the stool. So, and Prabhupada giving the example also, the restriction of the prison house. The restriction of a prison house is applicable to the prisoners, not to the king, because they are condemned. The prisoners are condemned by the laws of the king. But the king is never affected by these laws of the prison. So why there are differences in this world? Why, like in this world, there's differences? Because this is not the case for the Lord. Why in this world the difference? Because in this world it is due to the difference between material body and the soul. In this material world there is a difference between the body and the soul. But for the Lord, body and soul, there is no difference, right? So just like the conditioned soul, the activities of the conditioned soul is displayed through the medium of the three modes of material nature, right? It is displayed through the influence, through the medium of the three modes of material nature. That's why. But the Lord's body and the Lord himself are one and the same. So then when his activities are also displayed, it is non-different from the Lord, because there is no difference between the body and the soul. When he displays activities, he's still like the Lord himself, spiritual. Janma karma chamerivyam evam yoveti tatvataha. His janma in birth and his karma activities, they are deviant, right? They are on the spiritual plane, because there is no difference between the body and the soul. Of course, this body, the soul is there. The soul is full of consciousness, pure consciousness, and the soul is never out of consciousness. So the soul is always pure. So so that's the question asked, main question. If the Lord as a super soul is situated in every living entity's heart, why then do the living entity activities result in misfortune and misery? Why does the living entity result in misery and misfortune when the Lord is sitting in the heart of the living entity? That's the main question. Very beautiful question. So, but we can see in this also the answer is given in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Beautiful answer in chapter 5. It is explained that how the soul is living, the living entity is living happily in the city of 9 gates. So because this body has 9 gates, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, the mouth, genitals, anus, like that, the eyes also. So these are 9 gates. So the living entity is happily residing in the city of 9 gates. City of 9 gates is material body. And it's saying, na katridvan na karmani. Na kartridvam na karmani. Na karma phalam samyoga. Right? So is neither working nor is causing work to be done. Right? His master, the living entity, is a master of that city of 9 gates, its body. And then the living entity does not create any activity. Na katridvan na karmani. And does not induce people to work. And karma phala samyogam. Na karma phala samyogam is also, it doesn't create the fruits of action. All these are created enacted by the 3 modes of material nature. Right? It's all enacted by the 3 modes of material nature. So we understand who controls material nature. Material nature is controlled by the Supreme Lord, by the Super Soul. But sometimes people will wrongly understand that they will accuse the Supreme Lord. They conclude that the Supreme Lord is responsible for all the action and the reaction. He is responsible, and that critics falls on the Lord, because he's the one who's making all these things happening. Right? So, of course, the super soul is a doer. Paramatma is also the doer. So if Paramatma is the doer, then he must be responsible for many sinful activities. So if the super soul is responsible, so why should I take the blame on me? Why should I receive the reaction if the super soul is a doer of everything, right? But of course, to remove that misconception, Krishna is further explaining in Bhagavad Gita, right? He's saying that in 15:5:15, know the Lord does not assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Lord does not assume the sinful of the pious activities. So, but the living entities, because they're covered by ignorance, right? So now, if we understand also that the modes of matter nature control our bodies, the modes of nature control the bodies, but the modes of nature is controlled by the super soul, by God Himself. So, but although the super soul, Lord, is the ultimate controller, He controls everything. Modes of nature, the living entity, the soul. Although He's the ultimate controller, but He is not responsible for the living entity's activities or the reaction to them. He is not responsible, right? So in Bhagavad Gita, we learn there are many doers. First, we learn that doer is a three modes of material nature. Prakriti kriyamanayani gunaskarmani sarvasa ankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. Prakriti kriyamanayani. So after foolishness, ankar, one thing that is a doer is not the doer. But everything is carried by the three modes of material nature. The doer is three modes of material nature. This is what Krishna told Arjuna, because Arjuna did not want to fight. And the whole concept of the Gita is based on that point. Arjuna did not want to fight because he was thinking he's a doer. But Krishna is saying, don't think that you are the doer. The doer, the three modes of material nature, right? So many things Krishna is telling to Arjuna. He said, Karmani avari karaste ma phalesu kadachana. You have the right to do your duty. Yes, but you don't have the right for the fruits of result, the fruits of your activity. That you should offer to Krishna, that you don't have the right to enjoy. Somebody may say, if I should not be attached to the fruit, then it's better not to work. It's better to remain idle. But that Krishna also says, you also don't have the right to not, you should not be attached, also should not be attached of not doing your work. That's also so. Arjuna is cornered. You should not be attached to not to do your work also. So Arjuna is cornered, right? So, but in Gita we learn that doers are many. Super soul is a doer. The living entity is also is a doer. Why not? He's the one doing it. Modes of nature is a doer. Baladev Bijabhushan saying, if the living entity is not the doer, then there would be no meaning to Shastra. Because Shastra is injunction. The scripture is telling the jiva, the soul, to act, to serve the Lord. Right? So the living entity has to do it. So it's also the doer. Otherwise, there would be no meaning of Shastra. Right? So, of course, one should worship the Lord with the aim of attaining spiritual kingdom. So, uh, uh, so that is meaningful if only if a conscious doer exists. So it means that the living entity is also the doer. So how Gita explained more further. How is the super soul? How is the soul the doer? How is he doing also? He's also responsible. So uh, although how the living entity is, although sometimes is tied up in the grip of material nature, is a doer. And this is the example Prabhupada is giving. Very nice example. He's saying that just like a small boy wants to lift the weight. He has seen his father lifting the weight. So he wants to lift the weight. Uh, just he has seen like his father was doing. So in the beginning, the boys have the desire, small boy. He has first a desire to lift the weight. And then he tries it, try to lift. But he cannot possibly succeed because he's a small boy. But when his father is seeing that his small son desire, so the father stand above him. The father stand above him and after affection, and the father does the actual lifting. I understand the point I want to make. The small son wants to lift the weight like his father. Definitely he cannot possibly succeed. But seeing the desire of the son, the father stood above the son, and after affection, he actually does a lifting. And the boy is also lifting at the same time, but the boy is thinking, I am the doer. I have been able to lift that. So the father has actually lifted the weight. So here, the boy cannot be considered the only lifter. The lifter is also the Lord. The father is also lifting, right? So now, because the desire was there, the desire of the child was there to lift the weight. The attempt is made by the child first. You know, the father never would have help. The father would never have help if the desire of the child was not there. So that the father would have never help, would have help. It's because of the child, he wants it. And the weight would have not been lifted also if the desire was not there by the small son. Uh, uh, but just like the son is bewildered by false ego, pride is consider himself the doer of activities that he has no ability to do. So the living entity similarly should not become bewildered by false ego and pride, considering himself to be the doer, achieving something. Uh, so, but that doesn't mean that the living entities can avoid the responsibility of doing the activity, right? He cannot avoid the responsibility of doing his activity, right? But because it was he who actually expressed the desire, it was he who made the attempt, and he who wants to enjoy the fruits, the child, a living entity. The child wanted to lift the weight, right? So similarly, it is he, the living entity, who has expressed the desire and who has made the attempt and who also want to enjoy the fruits. So why is he suffering also? Although the Lord is there, but when the living entity is ignorant of his eternal relationship with Krishna and chooses to be independent and joyer, and that places him in this under the control of material nature. So he's responsible for his own reactions. Similarly, he's responsible for his own reaction. Uh, so Prabhupada is giving in the purport of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, sorry, 5th chapter. He's saying that because the living entities is anu, is small, atomic, and because it is living soul, he has a capacity to desire by his free will. That's what Prabhupada is saying. So because the soul has a capacity to desire by his free will, and this desire is fulfilled only by the Supreme Lord. He has a free will. But freedom sometimes is misused. When freedom is misused, then we suffer. Right? So the living entities has a free will. So the Lord fulfilled that desire, right? So then what happened when the living entity is bewildered by in his desires? You know, the living entity is bewildered in his desire. When he's bewildered in his desires, then the Lord allows him to fulfill those desires. But the Lord is not responsible for the reaction, the action, and the reaction. Although he's sanctioning that, he's fulfilling the desire because this living entity has the freedom, has the free will. Yes, a free will to desire. So because the Lord is a constant companion of the living entities as Paramatma. So as Super Soul is the companion, eternal companion, constant companion of the living entity. So he can understand the desires of the individual soul. He can understand because the Lord is a constant companion of the living entity. It's like the example is given as when one comes closer to a flower, smell the flower by being near the flower. So the Lord is very near to the soul, said in the Puranas that two birds sitting on the same branches, one is eating the fruit and one is doing the action. And so one is witnessing and one is doing the action with eating the fruits of his action. And the one bird is the witness, Paramatma. Very close, because the two are close. So the Lord, as Paramatma, can smell the desires of the living entity, right? So the Lord fulfill his desires as he deserves. There is a saying, man proposes, God disposes. That's a saying. Man proposes and God disposes. So, but the individual soul himself is not omnipotent to fulfill his desire. The Lord can only fulfill his desires, right? So the Lord can fulfill all desires, but is being neutral. Lord is neutral. Lord is neutral to everyone. It does not interfere. The Lord does not interfere with the desires of the independent living entity. It doesn't interfere. Sometimes we get this question, people say, if the Lord knows that this is wrong, why does he help us to do that? Of course, because we have freedom, can desire. He doesn't interfere. He fulfills that desire. I heard one example, one devotee was giving an example. He said, Krishna was, many people comes to Krishna for material desires. Krishna was giving, just giving, giving, giving. But those who come for spiritual desires, Krishna tell them to wait at a waiting room, wait there, wait in the waiting room. But those who come with material desire, Krishna just give. But Narad Muni came once and asked Krishna, why so? Why so? Those who ask him material desire just fulfill, giving to them immediately. But devotees are asking for spiritual desires. You just tell them to wait in the waiting room. Waiting room, why is that? And then Krishna said, yes, people are asking for material desire, just fulfill, let them go. But for devotees, why do I told them to wait? Because I need to be present. I need to offer myself to them, right? Because they're desiring spiritual desires. I need to cater. I need to be there. I need to be uh, present, there, because I have to give myself to them. So, yeah, I fulfill the desire, but he's neutral to everyone. But when one desires Krishna, the Lord takes special care and encourages one to desire in such a way that one can attain him and be eternally happy. That's different, right? So when the Lord, when he desires Krishna, living entity desires Krishna, so the Lord takes special care and encouragement, right? So this is the Supreme Lord. And as we have already spoken, that the living entity is not the ultimate doer. He's not, although he's not the ultimate doer, but he still remain responsible for his action and the results of the action. So, so like that. So the super soul acts definitely are the best friend of the living entity and fulfill the desires of the living entity. So although the Supreme Lord, God Krishna, is actually the supreme controller, his supreme control definitely, but he cannot be held accountable for the living entity's choices. For them, he acts only as a sanctioner, he just sanctioned that, but he's not held accountable for the living entity's choices. So he's neutral, super soul is neutral, is neither responsible for anyone's action, and nor is he liable to accept the living entity's good and bad reaction. Very interesting. He's also not liable to accept the living entity's good and bad reaction. So as another way to see that, also to analyze this point. So how knowledge also can be leads to liberation. There in Srimad Bhagavatam, they also mentioned there are three doers, right? Three doer. The number one doer is a living entity, right? So why? Because also he can realize, the bodily activities automatically carried out by the three modes of material nature. So this is one doer, the living entity. And number two doer is the three modes of material nature, right? So these modes of material nature, yes. And the third one is the super soul, right? Super soul whose only sanction can be called also a doer, right? Uh, so one become enlightened. One can become enlightened by understanding the interaction between the living entity, the three modes of material nature, and the super soul. There is kind of interaction. So one can become enlightened by understanding how the interaction works. Uh, so, yes, when ignorance is removed, and then the living entity takes shelter of the soul, and then he attains liberation, right? So, but when the living entity is as a soul, he desire to avoid Krishna. When the living entity desire to avoid Krishna, then it causes his own bewilderment, right? So although the living entity is eternal, is blissful and cognizant, so but because of that ignorance, he forgets his constitutional position of service to the Lord, and then he's trapped by ignorance, right? So because there is a change of conditional life, birth, death, old age, and disease. So the Lord is not responsible. We also learn from Srimad Bhagavatam, Chitraketu. Chitraketu wanted to have a son. He was married with 10 million wife. And then Angira Muni came and gave the blessing. He got a son. He said, your son's name will be Harsha Shok, the cause of happiness and the cause of distress. So the cause of happiness, because Chitraketu had a son, because the cause of happiness. Then the other queens of the king became jealous. They all got together, conspiracy, and then they killed the child. And that became the cause of distress, happiness and distress. So Arsha. But then Chitraketu's wife, Krita Dyoti, she was completely broken, crying, screaming, lamenting, rolling on the ground, hair dissolves. And then he started to criticize the creator. What kind of creator is this? Hey, the creator doesn't have enough experience. He's blaming God. She's blaming God. Father is born first and son is born after. But here the son died before the father. What kind of law? What kind of creation? What kind of, principles of creation? Father is born first. Father has to die first. Son is born after. Son has to die after. But there's nothing like that. There's no law like this. But the wife created duty is criticizing God. There's no such law, right? So every time when something good happens, we say it's me, I'm the cause. When something wrong happened, we say, why it's me? Why me? Why me? I'm such a good person, you know? So material world, conditional soul. Of course, the soul is in the body. The question was also like, why the soul with Paramatma is in the body, why the soul become bewildered, contaminated. The example is given also by Prabhupada, saying that when the rain falling down to the ground, the rain in the sky is pure. But then water rain comes in contact with the soil, become muddy, right? So similarly, the soul by nature is pure and consciousness is also pure. Consciousness is the symptom of the soul in the body. So consciousness also pure, but because the soul came in contact with this material body, the soul is in the body, came in contact with this material body, and it is called, according to Prabhupada's word, it's called a conditioned soul, right? The conditioned soul. So, but still the soul is pure by nature. Just like the rainwater is pure in the sky. But when it come in contact with the soil, it become muddy. Similarly, although the soul is pure, but when the soul enters his body, the soul become conditioned. That's the word Prabhupada used, conditioned. And then we see the world. How do we see the world? We don't see the world in its pure state. We see the world through the medium of this body. And this body is a contaminated body, influenced by the modes of nature. So we see the world through, it's like I put my glasses. I'm looking outside through the medium of the glasses. If the glasses is black, I'll see everything black. Right? If it is blue, I'll see blue everywhere. So because the soul is engaged in this body, the soul is conditioned in his body, so we have the tendency to see the world through the medium of this body, we see everything contaminated, right? So, but due to ignorance, the living entity claimed that the Lord is responsible. Lord is responsible for his conditional life, for his conditional existence. So this is Avanti Brahman also, he mentioned. One time, Avanti Brahmana from Bhagavatam, Avanti Brahmana, this is I think in the 11th canto. So he was a Avanti Brahmana, he was a how to call he was a Brahmana, but businessman. He was doing business. He was a bit Kripana. Kripana means bit kind of uh conjuice. Conjuice means over the English word, Kripan. He had lots of wealth, but didn't want to spend. Right. Miserly, very good point. Miserly. We not spend the money. But one day he became bankrupt, completely lost everything. Then his family members, sons, everybody left him. The heart was completely broken. Then because of that, he got some realization. He became a sannyasi. No. But when he was miserly, he would make people work, but he would not pay them when he was into business. Now he's taken sannyas. So after taking sannyas, he's taking his begging bowl and his danda is going door to door. But these people know him very well. They are the people whom they were working for him, he would not pay them. And now the people are taking some kind of revenge, hitting him with the danda, steal his bowl and hit him, putting urine and stool, you know, pinch him like that. And then Avanti Brahmana said, now it's painful for him because they are teasing him so much. He said, these people are not the cause of my suffering. They are giving me pain. They're teasing me, throwing stones, stool, beating me with my danda. They are not the cause of my suffering. Actually, I'm getting what I deserve. In fact, it is true. We don't get what we want in this world. We get what we deserve according to karma, definitely. We are born in a family according to not what we deserve, we want, according to what we deserve. Someone is married to a wife, to a husband, according to what he or she deserved, right? You have children according to what you deserve, not to according to what we want. No one gets what he wants, right? According to what we deserve, according to karma, right? We are born in a country according to what we deserve. So he was saying like that, I'm getting what I deserve. And he said, there is example like if you're driving car, you made a mistake, an offense, right? You just speed up the speed limit, and the letter comes to you at the end of the month. The postman come and deliver the letter. You have to pay fine, $500. The postman brought the letter to you, and then you start to shout to the postman, oh, it's all because of you. I have to pay all this much money. This is your fault. You're bringing to me that letter. But it's not the fault of the postman. The postman is just delivering the letter as it is. But this letter is been said because of his own action of speed limit. That was his own speeding, his own offense. So he's getting what he deserved. So anybody inflict pain upon us, so we get what we deserve. Right? So it is giving the example of if you're eating nice rasgulla, for example, rasgulla is nice to eat, sweets. And while eating, you bite your tongue. Sometimes it happens because in a hurry, you just eat faster. and then you bite your tongue. It's painful. Ah. But now who is to be blamed? Can we blame the rasgulla or the one who has cooked the rasgulla? No. It's his own action. Biting the tongue is own action. We can't blame anybody. Right? So whatever we have in this world, whatever we are facing, is our own action, the doing of our own action from previous activities, previous birth or this birth also. Right? Or if you're walking, your right foot hit the left foot, sometimes it's also hurtful, but you can't show own action. So this is, and Avanti Brahmana said, not only that, he said our suffering is not because of the influence of these different planets. Sometimes we say because of graha, planets influence, we are suffering, we became bankrupt in business. He said, not because of that. Not even because of time, not because of demigods, not even because of karma. He said, due to our mind. We are suffering in this world is all due to the mind, which is true. It is because of the mind we are in this world. We take birth and take birth again and again. The mind is a culprit. The mind is the cause of our material existence because the mind carries the soul to the next body, right? So the mind is the culprit in everything. The mind tried to control everybody. Supposed to be controlling by intelligence, but the mind is controlling everyone, and the mind has never become under the control of anyone. That's why Arjuna is saying, for me, it's easier to control the wind than controlling the mind. So difficult. Now we know wind also is very difficult to control, but how much more will be to control the mind? Very difficult, you know. So again, I would conclude also, like, of course, the different doers, right? And for this, what the whole concept of Gita is about it, because Arjuna did not want to do his duty, and Krishna is smashing him. You have the right. You have to do your duty. If you don't do your duty, if you don't do your work, then you will be responsible for the peace of the world, for destroying the peace of the world. Uh, and you will be responsible for also bringing the unwanted progeny, unwanted population. We understand this word, Jaite Varna Shankara in chapter 1, but Krishna is using the same point. If you don't work, if you don't do your duty, then you will be responsible for unwanted population. Yet acharati shreshtas tat prativedaruchat. Whatever great man does, common man will follow. And I myself, I don't have any desires. I don't need anything. I don't lack anything, but still I'm doing my duty. Right? I'm doing my duty. So you have to do your duty. Krishna is saying, I don't lack, I don't desire anything, but still I'm doing my duty. In at the last, also in chapter 18, I think it's explained that for every action, right? There are many things that consideration of any action perform. Factors, there are 5 factors for any action. Yes, the performer, the senses, the endeavor, the super soul, they're all factors of any action. That's why Krishna is telling you, you're not the only doer, you're not the only doer, right? Whether it is right or it is wrong, action. If a man is performing any action, so there are 5 factors. Don't think that you are the only doer, Krishna is telling. So, yeah, this is again the concept of the whole Bhagavad Gita. And then, yeah, this is the why Maitreya Rishi is not bewildered actually also by this kind of question. He knows everything. And but the bewilderment was from the side of Vidura, how the living entities, the super soul is there in the body. So how come that super soul was supposed to be helping, supposed to be purifying, you know? And why is the living entity bewildered? So this is um, the answer. Okay, Hare Krishna. Maybe I would like to thank you so much for your attention. And from that, I would wish to, if there is any question.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Wow. So beautiful. Lots of practical analogies that most of us, if not all of us, can relate to. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Dr. Hassan, please, you may unmute.
Yes, Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Please kindly accept my respectful obeisances. All glory to Gurudev, all glory to Prabhupada, and all glory to the wonderful Assam devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, I have a question. So please forgive me if it's not intelligent question. I'm just learning. So my question is that about the soul. You do mention that the soul is always pure, and you give an example of a rain. When it falls and it gets into the earth, it becomes muddy. So if the soul is always pure and we consider ourselves that we are the soul, not this body, why is it that if we say that if we are not pure, we have to come back and take another body? If you can throw more light on that. This is
Yeah.
my humble question. Hare Krishna.
Yes. So the consciousness is a symptom of the soul. If you pinch the wood won't react. You pinch anything, cut it, it won't react to you. But if you pinch somebody, you know, it will react because there is the it's conscious. Yeah, the body is conscious. It means there is a presence of the soul. So in that matter, there is no soul, so it doesn't react. So because the body has a soul, and if you pinch the body will react, right? So this consciousness is a symptom of the soul. So it is a consciousness which goes up and down. You know, the consciousness, contaminated consciousness. Why the consciousness is contaminated? Because the soul is trapped in the body, this material body. I said already the word used, Prabhupada, is condition, right? Condition. Now, I've also read somewhere, it's a side point. We uh, we suffer of it because of this body, right? We have pain, somebody beats us
Yes.
with, yes. But if soul is pure, then why do we have to suffer? Because the soul doesn't get, who gets the pain? The body or the soul? You know?
Yes, the body.
Yeah. So, but we suffer. Why do we suffer? Because of ignorance. We considering we are the body. That's the main disease. What's the main disease? Bodily skin. So skin disease, Prabhupada said. Well, as soon as we think we are this body, that's the suffering start. But that's the main disease of this world. Instead of considering realizing we are spirit soul, we think we are this body. That's that's the matter. That's the whole thing start, right? So yeah, of course, the living entities has gone through the different bodies and purification of consciousness. back again. Of course, it is not that soul is contaminated, but we have to revive this consciousness. This pure consciousness has to come back again. It's like your T-shirt is originally clean, but it got contaminated by mud. But then by washing it, it come back again to the clearing stage, right?
Mm.
So, but by nature it's clear, right? So there is a process of cleansing process. That's why the Cheto Dharpana Marjanam Bhava Mahavagni Nivada. The accumulated for years and years. The earth has been accumulated for years and years. Another example I want to give is load is like the iron. Sorry, load is like magnet. Load is like magnet, and living entity is like iron. Iron by nature become attracts to magnet, right?
Yes.
So if iron is rusty, it won't be attracted to magnet. So then you need a sandpaper to remove that rusty of the iron, and immediately it become attracted to the magnet.
Mm.
So that's the process of Sankirtan and Kali Yuga, cleansing process. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. So that means the consciousness, not the soul, which need to be clean.
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much, Maharaj. I'm very, very grateful. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. Dr. Hassan, thank you for the question, and Maharaj, the answer. Anyone with something else to ask? Govinda, Prabhu, please you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Please kindly accept my respectful obeisances.
Hare Krishna. So,
All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to you. All
Hare
glories to the
Prabhupada.
Assembly. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, thank you very much for this detailed presentation. You've touched so many, many points. Help us to fortify our Krishna consciousness. Thank you. There's one question I have about the pure souls in the spiritual world. You touch base that the living entities are always, I mean, the super soul is always accompanied the living entities in their journey here in the material universe. And we also understand that when the soul becomes pure, he shed off the subtle body, the gross, the subtle, and the soul manifests a spiritual body in the spiritual world. So that means that when the soul is in the spiritual world, the super soul does not accompany the jiva any longer. So the question is, since the super soul is directs the jiva's activities, though the jivas have to have their desires, but the desires are being fulfilled by the super soul. So now that the soul is in the spiritual world, without he being controlled or act according to the push of the super soul, how does the soul know exactly, even though he's pure and all his activities are pure, his services are pure, how does he know exactly what Krishna wants him to do at a particular moment? I quite remember my spiritual master. I washed his clothes, and at the same time, there was a strong wind that was carrying the clothes. And at the same time, I need to iron his clothes. And so I tried to I try to go for the clothes that are carried away by the wind. And then so as I was trying to do that, I was kind of delaying. And then he called me and said, mind this one, because he was to go for program also. Mind this one. So I was trying to do the right thing, but not knowing what I was doing was wrong. He wanted rather me to do this. So how would the living entities in the spiritual world know exactly what Krishna wants them to do?
Yeah. Definitely in this world, there is the super soul. The super soul is also guru. We say Cheta Guru, right? In this world, we have the Cheta Guru, the super soul is the Cheta Guru. And the same Cheta Guru internally is Cheta Guru. He also manifests as our spiritual master. Spiritual master. This is in this world. Cheta Guru is inside. He's also Guru, Cheta Guru. The super soul is Cheta Guru. And also then they manifest externally as our spiritual master. And in this world, we can always ask, or the Gurudev can always tell us what to do, what not to do, what to do. That's easy to understand, right?
Yeah.
So, right? That's okay. So, Cheta Guru, there's also Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. Can contact always. It's like the train goes on 2 tracks, so we go on 3 tracks, Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu, right? But sometimes there is also the indication that soul, super soul is also indicating what to do. Give us some hints, but to confirm it also to give guidance, but also the best way to consult a spiritual master. The spiritual master is there; he can tell us what to do, what not to do, and he's there. Or because Guru Tattva is not also is not just reduced to one person. Sometimes devotee would say, I'm not able to meet my guru is far away, no, I don't have his association. But there is this Guru Tattva is not one person. So it's not it's reduced to one person. There are different gurus, Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru, and the one who brings us to Krishna consciousness for the first time. So yes, our relationship with the spiritual master is eternal. Right? The relationship with the spiritual master is eternal. Yasya prasada, Bhagavat prasada, Yasya prasada, nagati kutopi. Tadvari paripadena, pariprasnena, sevaya parikshanti te jnanam, jnanina sarvadarshina. The spiritual master will guide us. The spiritual master will tell us the desire of Krishna. And yeah, and also because the jiva is the Jivera Swarupohai Krishnera Nitadas, there is an eternal servant of the Lord, eternally is guided to serve the Lord, right? By the spiritual master. So this inclination of his Swarup is also there. Right? Of course, guided by the spiritual master. This is how he actually understand how to actually desire the Lord's desire to serve. I don't know. I hope I have answered your question.
Yeah, Maharaj. Yeah, the last paragraph uh, of your answer. My understanding is that since the spiritual master is our Lord, birth after birth, and is the same Lord in the heart who manifests as a spiritual master. And once we take initiation from a spiritual master, he continues to be our guide eternally.
Yes.
So my understanding from you is that even in the spiritual world, the spiritual master will still be guiding us how to serve Krishna. Am I getting the right understanding?
Yes, but because there is even you see the what's it called Rupa Manjari. Rupa Manjari is the leader of the Manjari. She also guides the many Manjaris that serve under her. So that's in the spiritual world, right? They're serving Rupa Manjari, and in our case, it's Rupa Goswami, right? So they're serving under the Manjaris, Rupa Manjari, and the Manjaris also serving under Srimati Radharani, right? There is a connection also, spiritual divine connection between Srimati Radharani and spiritual master. She's also guiding.
So in that regard, would one realize that this person was my spiritual master who trained me whilst I was in a body here in the material world?
What is the point? What is it you just mentioned?
Yeah. You see, here in the material world, once we are conditioned, there are many things that we cannot know, we cannot remember. But when we get into the spiritual world, when the soul is pure, can we understand or realize that this person was my spiritual master when I was in the material world? Can we have that realization?
If we see from example from the scripture, in fact, it is mentioned that that's one example I want to give is like, for example, sometime it's happened that the spiritual master goes back to Godhead before the disciple. That's also there, right? So then how will the disciple go back when the spiritual master is already there in the spiritual world? Well, at time we see that the spiritual master, the disciple, no, the spiritual master goes first, then the disciple, or it's the other way around. The disciple is already gone, and the spiritual master will go after. That's also there. So how does this work? It works. It works because even if the spiritual master has gone before the disciple, so the spiritual master will send also some kind of representative, right, to take the disciple back home, back to Godhead. It works like that. So, and the question is, if I would know whether this person was my spiritual master in the material world, definitely yes, because the connection, the contact, or the relationship between Guru and spiritual master is eternal.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Maharaj, we have one hand up, but I have one quick and a humble submission. Maharaj, we haven't had your association for a very, very long time. So we are very grateful we have the association today. But will it be possible to have the association at least once in a month?
Once in a month.
Yes, at least.
It's possible, but to see also, I also travel, but let me know. You should
Okay.
let me know.
Okay.
I can self free.
Okay,
But,
thank you. So we go to His Grace, Srimad Varahacharya. Please give me a mute.
Hare Krishna,
yeah.
this is Maharaj,
Okay.
all those Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
I hope my voice is clear because I'm driving.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, fine. So thank you very much, Maharaj. I have one contribution and one question. first contribution is to the question asked by Govinda Prabhu. I think in the spiritual world, the soul assumed is Swarupa, is eternal relation with Krishna. And in that spiritual body, the soul is
You're breaking up.
Disconnect.
Yeah. There's a disconnection.
I have another meeting.
Well, Maharaj, since it seems there is a disconnection, I have one quick question from the text and the purport. But if you have another meeting and this is going to obstruct that, we may call it off, and then next time we have the association, we may ask the question. But thank you so much for being here with us today, Maharaj. Are you speaking from India?
I just came from India. I'm in Mauritius right now.
Oh, Mauritius. Okay. Yeah, so your time is still late. So thank you, Maharaj.
what happened?
Okay.
Am I cut off?
Yeah, you got disconnected.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so anyway, I think the first part of my comment is basically understood. I mean, in the spiritual world, the soul is Satchitananda, and if you assume it's Swarup. So I think there's no question of what to do. Well, my question, Maharaj, is a lot is being said today about actions, what we need to do, we must act, etc. So I just want to know, can we make the world better by our actions? Can we make the world better by our actions? That's my question. Thank you.
Definitely, yes. Prabhupada also mentioned this material world can be also Vaikuntha, can be transformed into Vaikuntha if we act like Vaikuntha.
Wow.
We can change it. The world can be changed here itself. Yes. Krishna is saying, if people understand, Bhoktaram Givnavasham Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvavid Bhutanam. This is a peace formula. The peace formula is if one understand, one who is understand or conscious that Lord is the proprietor, Bhoktaram, he is enjoyer, the Lord is enjoyer, he is the Bhoktaram Yagyiptasam, is the enjoyer of all our tapasya and is our best friend. Then one can attain peace. So this is it's just a question of consciousness. These are the consciousness. Lord is proprietor, he is enjoyer, and is our best eternal friend. So then one can attain peace, and peace can reign in all over the world. Ashantasya kutha sukam. If there is no shanti, there is no peace. How can there be happiness? There cannot be happiness without peace. The world is not peaceful nowadays. Chaos all over the world because due to false ego, everyone is claiming to be proprietorship, ownership, and joyership. Hare Krishna.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Maharaj. I'm very grateful. Thank you. Hare.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. And dear devotees, we are going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our deepest appreciation to our revered speaker for today, His Holiness Sundar Chaitanya Goswami Maharaj, for sharing his love and wisdom with us today from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Please, we may all unmute. Jai.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Panchakapatarvyacha kripa sindhu bhakti vacha patitanam pavanabhyo vaishnavyo namo.
Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
His Holiness Chaitanya Goswami Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Param Guru A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.